May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke audio podcast. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So this is the fourth short podcast in reading from the Haiku Zendo Chronicles. The Haiku Zendo is where Shunryu Suzuki gave the Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind lectures in 1965 and 1966. And now we arrive at the part of the Haiku Zendo Chronicles published in 1973 and available to read on Cuke.com, C-U-K-E.com. Just write Haiku Zendo Chronicles in the search box. Reverend Suzuki versus Roshi. When I first joined the Los Altos group in 1965, I was told it was correct to address our teacher as Reverend Suzuki or Sensei. Apparently, this was the practice at Sokoji and Zen Center in San Francisco. During the winter of 1966, Suzuki attended a weekend Alan Watts seminar with us. Alan was horrified to hear the term Reverend Suzuki and told me in no uncertain terms that this was an uneducated and vulgar usage of the English term, the Reverend. I felt that it was not my place to question the decision of Zen Center and Sokoji. Later in the year, Marion told us that Alan wrote a long and detailed letter to Zen Center on the matter. He suggested that we adopt the term Suzuki Roshi and reserve the term Sensei for assistant priests. A vote was taken and Alan's suggestions were approved. Suzuki Roshi was away at the time, traveling in Japan. When he returned to Los Altos, he asked us why we were all calling him Roshi. We told him of Alan's letter to Zen Center and how a vote was taken at the last business meeting. We said that we were supposed to call him Roshi here from now on. I do not remember a time when Roshi laughed harder or longer. He said it was all right, and then he went off into gales of laughter again. Questions and answers. Quite often a student would ask a question and Roshi would answer. Then he would slowly look around at us all and say, "Do you understand?" And there we sat, eyes down, feeling that our heads were made of solid wood. Roshi had a special smile for these occasions, gentle and reassuring, and mischievous all at once. Even now, when I am puzzled about something, I hear his voice in my mind asking, "Do you understand?" Roshi at the breakfast table. Many times, Roshi taught us without words. One morning at the breakfast table, Roshi was sitting directly opposite me. He was looking at a book. Sitting next to me was a fellow student and old friend. My friend spoke to me at length on a subject about which I had a different opinion. I said nothing. In my frustration, I found myself staring at a basket of muffins, which was on the table before me. Suddenly, I felt a powerful urge to end up the basket of muffins over my neighbor's head. But no, I thought the harmony of the breakfast table was more important. As I raised my eyes from the muffin basket, I found Roshi looking at me intently, unsmiling. Our eyes met. He looked at me sternly and nodded his head slowly 3 times. I nodded back, not quite sure what we were nodding about, but feeling his encouragement. Then Roshi returned to his book. Later in the day, there came to me a great insight into my behavior over several months past. I had been very foolish. My neighbor that morning had been trying to rectify this situation. Once I saw it, the problem disappeared, and I was grateful for Roshi's 3 nods. Teaching without words. Dunning Katagiri Sensei, now Roshi, began to come to Los Altos from San Francisco in 1965. He came with Suzuki Roshi at first. Later they came on alternate weeks. Katagiri Sensei was very important to us and to the growth of the Zendo. He helped us in many ways, particularly with the practical questions which came from a growing membership. He was a younger man than Suzuki Roshi, about 40 years old when we first knew him. He sat with the strength of a rock. In repose, his face looked stern, but when he laughed, the whole world was alight. His lectures were carefully prepared and yet always flexible to the moment at hand. He was our friend. One evening, Suzuki Roshi and Katagiri Sensei were both present. A student asked Suzuki Roshi about anger. Roshi said, "Anger is not so good. However, if you understand why you are angry, it is not so bad." Another student said, "But Roshi, surely you are never angry." At that moment, Katagiri Sensei laughed so hard he almost fell off his cushion. He was pointing his finger at Roshi. Roshi laughed too. Turning to Katagiri Sensei, he said, "Well, when I know someone is a Buddha and he doesn't act like one, I become angry." Roy Henning recalls, Katagiri Sensei probably led more meetings which I attended than did Suzuki Roshi. Thus, I came to have a strong personal feeling for him. His lectures always contained little personal experiences, which to me always illustrate a point best. He had such a good sense of humor, too. Some of his analogies of the blending of Zen into our lives with the alloying of metals were very ambitious scientific endeavors. His ability to bring the Zen life into our workaday world by means of illustrations was astounding. Maybe you remember his story about receiving a traffic citation in San Francisco. It was hilarious and yet drove home an important point. The only such story I remember is as follows. Katagiri Roshi was just beginning to drive in San Francisco. He came to a sign by the street curb which he had difficulty reading. He stopped his car to read the sign. It said no parking. At that time, a lady motorcycle cop came along and gave him a ticket for stopping in front of a no parking sign. Katagiri Roshi and his family are now in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is good to know that they are still in the United States. All right. Very nice. So, next time we shall read a little more of Haiku Zendo Chronicles. This has been a Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Sanur with Dogette Bandita, Feline Cuchita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.